Hello chess lovers, Zoran here, and in this video I want to share with you another aggressive attacking game which is going to end up with a brilliant combination. On the white side is German chess grandmaster Christopher Lutz and his opponent is Slovak chess grandmaster Lubomir Ftacnik. The game was played in 2001 in Hamburg. Lutz opened up with e4, to which Ftacnik answered with Sicilian defense. This opening leads to a very dynamic game, and quite possibly this is the most frequently seen opening on my channel. Knight takes d4, knight f6, knight c3, a6, neither variation is on the board. Bishop e3, against neither white is going for the razor sharp English attack, where white is castling queenside and is starting a kingside pawn storm. In return, black is counter-attacking on the queenside, something which we will see in the game. After f3 we see h5, with which black is making hard for white to go for a kingside pawn storm. Qd2 knight Bd7, white castled queenside. Of course, all this is a standard stuff seen many times, and after this prophylactic king b1 move, black developed his kingside bishop d3 b5 h3. In here, other alternative is g3, after which only then white is playing h3 and then g4. The problem with h3 is that by playing h4, black is neutralizing this g pawn, and now if you play g4, then black can capture en passant. But white had different ideas, and to h4 he answered with f4. Queen c7. Well, if you capture on f4, then once this bishop appears on h2 b8 diagonal, the vulnerability of the pawn on d6 can play an essential role. That's why black played queen c7, rook h e1, and knight b6. Castling is an alternative, and then knight c5. But in the game we see knight b6, which is also a strong move. Here white captured on b6, otherwise knight c4 was coming. That's why white decided to get rid of that knight, but did it at the cost of giving up the dark squared bishop, which in many cases can be very useful when organizing the kingside attack. And then white knight occupied this central d5 square, queen d8. 2 years later, in a game played between Vladimir Kramnik and Vishwanathan Anand, the latter captured on d5, and then after he takes d5 played rook h5. That game ended in a draw, but in this game we see a bit passive looking queen d8 retreat. c3, in here knight a5 is an alternative, a standard idea in typical positions, from where the knight is taking under control some essential squares. Instead we see c3, and finally black castled kingside. For some time black was putting aside castling, but finally decided to go for it, because it's not like that in the center the black king was in safety. Bishop c2, rook e8. At this point knight h5 followed by knight g3 is a strong continuation. Instead we see rook e8, knight takes f6 check, bishop takes f6, f5, and bishop takes b3. Well, at this point the engine suggests a move like bishop d7 or bishop c4. If queen takes d6, then bishop c6. But instead black played bishop takes b3. From a human perspective, sacrificing a pawn is not that easy, but this continuation is even worse. Soon we will see that black will find himself in trouble. The thing is that now this light squared bishop is occupying this diagonal and is somewhat getting very active. Queen a5, rook g1. White is not even interested in this pawn. Yeah, if you go for queen takes d6, then rook e8, and then queen b6. Suddenly, at the cost of giving up a pawn, black is managing to neutralize white's kingside attack. Still, of course, white has an advantage, but the line chosen by white is stronger. Rook g1 in order to support the advance of the g pawn. Rook e8, g4, black captured en passant. Rook takes g3, king f8. Already black is looking for a safe shelter for his king. Meanwhile, white is intensifying the pressure. White's idea is simple: to push this pawn as far as possible and to destroy black's defensive shield. Accepting the pawn sacrifice is losing on the spot. In this case, white has a very strong rook h1 answer. If here, then queen g5. And then there is a mating threat. If, I don't know, king g8, then you can either play queen h5 or bishop takes f7. Both lead to a forced mate in 4. Let's take a quick look at this. Bishop takes f7 check, and then if king takes f7, then queen g6 check, king g8, queen e6 check, and then a rook h8 checkmate. There we have it. White is managing to kill the enemy king. In the game, black answered with queen b6, and the h-pawn stepped forward once again. Queen c6. Black is trying to somewhat activate his queen, but it's too late. In here, white first neutralized the threat, and after queen d7, doubled up his rooks on the g file. Rook c5, h6. According to Stockfish, rook takes g7 is even stronger, and then queen g2, and the game is over, you know. But instead we see h6, which is also winning. G takes h6. Well, if king e7, then in this case rook takes g7 is winning. If rook f8, then h7. And if bishop takes g7, then rook takes g7, and then queen g5 again. This is a total destruction. In the game, black answered with g takes h6, and there comes queen takes h6 check. This is a line which is allowing white to finish up the game in the most brilliant style. King e7. And now, as there is a forced mate in 5, you can pause the video and try to find the mating line. Ready? The combination is actually very beautiful, and it starts with the queen sacrifice. There we have it. Queen takes f6. King takes f6. Rook g6 check. This time we see a rook sacrifice. F takes g6. Rook takes g6 check. King e7. And after f6 check, black resigned. The thing is that black pieces are piled up, and they themselves are not allowing black king to escape. That's the reason that these 3 remaining pieces are managing to kill the enemy king. And now if king f8 or king e8, in both cases rook g8 is winning. Yeah, there was a very nice combination by Christopher Lutz, which I hope that you enjoyed greatly. Want to take a look at this queen sacrifice once again. There we have it. And then a rook sacrifice. And there it goes. f6 check. Resignation is on the board. Well, in the end, the chess puzzle for you, where the task is to find the winning line for white. As usual, we'll wait for your answer in the comment section. Feel free to check out my early uploads as well. We'll see you in my next video. Take care.